Welcome to a very special episode of the Lifting Cues podcast. This is the first ever episode with a guest. You guys have listened to me talk. Now I wanted you to get someone else's perspective. And that guest is going to be Coach Brandon Person, my friend and colleague at Erie Fitness Academy. You may be wondering why Coach Brandon, was the first guest on the podcast. Well, when I started this podcast, he called dibs. So I had to have him on first. But he also has an incredible story to tell. What he has overcome in his life and what he has been able to accomplish, not only as a lifter and an athlete, but also as a coach and helping people for many, many years. He has a great perspective. We have some fun. So I hope you guys enjoy this episode as much as I enjoyed, bringing it to you. And if you like this podcast, please leave a review and let me know what you liked, what you didn't like, what you would like to see differently. This is the Lifting Cues podcast, the podcast for lifters. I want to know what you want to know so that I can bring you the best value. Now, let's jump into the show with Coach Brandon. Here we go. First episode of the Lifting Cues podcast with a guest. I am here with my colleague and my friend, Coach Brandon Person. I'm excited to introduce him to you guys and, test this format out of having a guest on the show. You've heard from me enough. Now I want you to hear the experience of somebody else, the perspective of somebody else. So we're gonna get this going. And this is your first time on a podcast, right?
Yes.
Awesome. So my first time interviewing, his first time on a podcast. Be nice to us. And we're just gonna have a great time and see where this goes. So first thing is just introduce yourself as, a coach, as a person, so people know why they should be listening to you and just who you are.
Brandon Person, born and raised in Erie, Pennsylvania. Haven't moved anywhere else. I've been coaching for about 5 years now. Actually coaching probably 3. The other 2 we'll call, being a trainer. But bounced around from several different gyms. I went to school and graduated from Strong Vincent High School, and then I continued my education at Edinburgh University. I got my bachelor's in human performance, and now I'm adventuring and getting into my passion of coaching and giving back, changing lives.
Awesome. What kind of people do you coach now? Do you have any specialties?
So I'm really into coaching athletes. One, because they typically have a coach all the time, so they're very coachable. They're athletes, so they're able to be coached through movements. And specifically kind of teenagers, maybe younger, going into, sports, going into high school. Kids that are still growing, because I would rather tackle it early, getting them to learn how to use their body as they're growing. That way we're not stepping backwards.
Yeah. And it's always fun coaching athletes because they know how to control their bodies, and they're usually, in the gym for a very specific reason, so you can kind of dive into that with them too. So this is the Lifting Cues podcast, so we want to hear about you, the lifter, as well. Where did your experience start in the gym and in fitness, and kind of where has it progressed until where you are now?
So it started in between that summer of 8th grade and 9th grade. We had a coach come to our middle school looking for basically kind of recruiting to get them into the football program at the high school. And basically he took us under his wing and scared shitless. So I had friends to go with. But at my school, it was a gym that was in the basement. So kind of old school, like tons of free weights, 0 machines at all.
Nice.
And absolutely no coaching. Nobody knew what they were doing or anything like that, but that's how I got into it.
Just going in and maxing out every day, bench pressing every single day.
That's it, and nobody telling you how your form looked or anything. If you can pick it up and off your chest, you're good. Rack it, good lift. So that's kind of how it started, and then I was always an athlete, so I just realized that lifting actually would help with my athletics and help my performance. So I continued that, and then I realized, holy shit, I can make a living out of this. So why not? And then I pursued it going into college.
Absolutely, yeah. And I mean, I think we were all in that place of like, and you found it out earlier than most probably, like you could make a living doing this. Like that's where I came from, is like I was doing all of those things, but never thought I could actually make the living. So like I went to school to make money.
Yeah.
That didn't work. And then I realized like, oh, I really can do this. Like there is an outlet for it. So no, that's awesome. And you know, where are you at now with your training? What are your goals now? What are you doing training wise?
My goals are to continue to get stronger. After our first powerlifting meet, I kind of fell off a little bit. Felt very successful, and I felt accomplished to an extent. So I kind of fell off a little bit. Some less stress on my body because we were getting beat up for quite a few weeks.
Lifting heavy.
And that was my very first strength program or anything like that. So I've never experienced that type of strain on my body ever before. So after that, I took a break. Now I'm slowly diving back into it and tweaking a few things, and then just hopefully continuing to get stronger.
Absolutely. And you plan on competing again in November, right?
I won't be doing Novembers.
No?
I just plan on working to have the biggest lift possible at dawn of the deadlift.
Okay, so we're gonna go deadlift specialty for
Yeah.
the rest of the year. No, that's awesome. And he pulled an awesome deadlift at the last powerlifting meet that we did. It was freaking sweet. What was it? 551?
555.
555. Yeah. So the man knows how to deadlift. And no, that's awesome. I think we all have similar goals going forward, and we continue to train together. And one thing that kind of stuck out to me was that after you have accomplished something is like shifting gears toward that next goal and how you do it. So talk a little bit more about that process. What was that kind of like? Like you said, you did something you've never done. You felt very accomplished in doing it. And then you kind of hit this wall of like, well, what now?
What's next?
Yeah. So how'd you kind of come to that?
So it was my very first strength program, very first powerlifting meet. I felt accomplished after I did that meet. We walked home with some hardware. So it was definitely, okay, what's the next step? Do I take a little bit of a break in my programming, my workouts, which I definitely did unintentionally. I kind of got lazy, to be honest. And now it's like I have those numbers, everything's there. How can I beat those numbers in the next 6 months or even, a year out from what we just did? What's it going to look like next April? And that's basically it. And I hurt myself pressing. You've experienced the same thing. So I'm taking kind of your approach for all my pressing, and I'm just really focusing on my deadlifts and squats. Deadlifts are my favorite, so those have been going good, but my squats, I've tweaked a few things, moved the bar around on my back, and now those are feeling better than ever. So hopefully I can get better numbers with those. So
yeah, for sure. And we're going to get to injuries later, but we both have a similar experience. We're going through it together. But no, that's awesome. I think just finding that next step and then just kind of seeing where it takes you and just enjoying the process is a message that we always try to get across to people in a different way. How does your nutrition now play into that? Are you doing anything different nutritionally for your goals, or just what's that look like for you?
Yeah, so the idea was to be as close to the max body weight as possible that I was allowed to lift at for the powerlifting meet in my weight class. That was in April, so now we're all trying to get in, well, most of us are trying to get into a summer bod, so I wanted to get back down to a certain percentage to where I liked myself the most, which was 7%. So I hit that 7%, and I've come to the realization that I don't feel good. I don't carry myself better. My clothes I don't fit in my clothes how I would like to.
Don't look big in your t-shirt.
Yeah. I want to look good inside of my clothes. I look great with my clothes off and things like that, but
how often does that happen?
Yeah, I'm not going to walk around everywhere with my shirt off or anything like that. But so that's kind of where I'm at now. I hit my nutrition to where I could lose that body fat percentage, get back to that point, and I kind of came to the realization like, oh shit, I don't really like myself at this point. So now increasing my meals again, making sure that I get an adequate, heavy 3 meals in, and then filling in the blanks there. I'm not tracking or anything. I'm just increasing off the top of my head of what I know I wasn't doing, and that's what I'm doing now. And then if my lifting continues to get kind of stagnant, then I'll go into deeper as far as start tracking things, proteins, carbs, fats, things like that, and then hopefully just try to get back up to a decent weight and not really care about the body fat percentage.
Yeah, I mean, you got to 7% without that much effort, right? I mean, it wasn't like you were dieting super hard. Now it's just making a little bit more of a conscious effort to increase your food a little bit. And when you're really consistent with your diet and you know exactly what you're eating, it's a lot easier to make those little shifts here and there. It's just like, okay, let me add in some extra, protein feedings or something, get yourself up to like 10% body fat where you feel better. I think that's really cool. So one thing I really wanted to talk about was a lot of people, we've kind of been talking about how you fluctuated your body weight, done different kinds of training. A lot of people, I think that fitness professionals and competitive lifters and athletes have it super easy. And, it's just easy for us to get in the gym, to eat right, to manipulate our body weight and all this stuff. But I think a lot of people have been through a lot less than you probably have. So do you want to dive into kind of your background, your story of what happened to you and what you had to come back from and overcome to even get to this point now where you're at?
Yeah. So it dates back to beginning of COVID. I was doing kind of a lot of bodybuilding. My goal was to get up to 200 pounds. The hardest thing for me to do is gain weight. It's the hardest thing for me to do, fortunately. So I got up to that weight. I was at the time the strongest and the best looking, I thought, in the mirror. I was happy with myself. And I was leaving work one day. Now this is COVID, so I was about 2 days at the workplace and the rest were at home. Leaving work, it was 2 days before my birthday, and I hop on my motorcycle. I'm a motorcycle enthusiast. I love two wheels, grew up on two wheels my whole life. And so I was heading to my other job to pick up a paycheck. That way I could have some party money for my birthday. Well, 4 minutes into that bike ride, I was hit by a truck. I flew over that vehicle, and then I got pinned under a parked car for about 35 minutes. I don't remember that accident, thank God, the actual accident, but woke up in the ICU about 9 hours later I had a compound fracture to my leg that took 8 hours to fix. They were going to amputate my leg, but keep in mind I was in the best shape of my life at the time, and for whatever reason there was a nurse in the OR that uncovered my body. The ortho saw the shape that I was in, and come to find out later that I was around the same age as his son, who was also an athlete. So he took it upon himself to put the saw down as he was standing over my leg and put my leg back together. He flat out told me he did not care what it looked like. He just wanted to try everything that he could to get me my leg back, and he did, and I'm thankful for it now. But that's the only reason why I still have my leg, is because that nurse uncovered my body for whatever reason, and he saw the shape that I was in at the time. So I woke up from the ICU with my leg. I had a concussion. I broke 11 ribs. I had a collapsed lung and a punctured lung, so I had fluid blood going into one lung, so I was intubated, and I had a chest tube. I broke my 2 lumbar in my spine. I had a heart contusion. I had a fractured left scapula. I had a hematoma in my left hip, and then just a shit ton of road rash, which I was wearing my helmet. I was wearing long sleeves and pants.
Yeah, so but there's only so much you can do.
There's only so much you can do.
Yeah.
And then I was in the ICU for 2 days. This was during COVID, so I could only see my mom and my dad at the time. They later took out the tube from my throat. I was moved to trauma floor, where I stayed for 2 months on the trauma floor, where my leg ended up getting an infection. So I had 5 more surgeries while I was during that process. Within 2 months, I ended up having a what is it called? They flipped my calf over to cover the hole that was in my leg where the infection was, because it was eating. So they needed.
So the calf is on the front of your leg.
So
now.
my gastroc is flipped to the medial side, almost damn near covering my tib.
That's crazy.
So I had that go on. So that was quite a battle, and I broke my back and everything. So it was very immobile. And 2 months after that, I was finally able to start moving a little bit better. Then they take you to Health South. Health South is basically an occupational and a physical therapy place, but you ideally have to test out to see if you're capable of doing certain things on your own if you do not have the help at home. So I was there for a month and a half because my 3 tests were I had to stand for longer than a minute. I had to climb on my butt using only my right side up 4 steps. And I had to be able to put on 1 article of clothing. And I wasn't able to do that. I kept failing week after week. And they had to increase my PT to where I had 4 to 6 hours of PT every day. And finally I tested out of that, and they sent me home to where I was bedridden at home for another 2 months.
So how long total were you like completely out of commission?
I think a little over 9 months.
Wow. Yeah.
And that was, I had to learn. So I lost over 50 pounds. I was 200 pounds when I went in there. I got out with, I was around a little over 150 pounds. Looked completely different, obviously, for losing that amount of time. I grew a beard, which I wasn't able to do before. So I grew a beard. And then when I got home, it took me a couple of days, but I had she would have been 6 at the time. I had a 6-year-old daughter, and I just wanted to see her. And my parents brought her over, and I was so beat up and completely different that she didn't recognize me. And when you hear your daughter say, that's my dad, that was kind of the fire that lit under my ass, because I needed to get back to the point to where she was able to recognize me, and I had something to fight for, because there were several times and before a lot of the surgeries that I just wanted them to take my leg. I didn't want to fight anymore.
Yeah.
I didn't have anybody at the hospital. It was during COVID. I couldn't see my daughter. I couldn't see the loved ones other than my mom and my dad. But hearing that and seeing her cry lit the fire under my ass. So I had a company that did physical therapy at home. I did that twice a day, and then I was blessed enough to have a grant to where I had nursing come to my home and give me the meds and things that I needed. And I just kicked ass, man. They gave me, I had like 2.5 pound plates, and I was curling that in my bed. And when I was able to get into a wheelchair, I bought bands, and I would strap bands, shit ton of bands strapped to this wheelchair. And I was doing leg extensions, overhead presses, curls, just trying to get everything going. And then I was fortunate enough to have met DJ and Gio, and they gave me, I didn't have insurance at the time, and they paid for 6 weeks of PT with the best PT that I've ever experienced before, Rosie at NovaCare, and she taught me how to walk again. She taught me how to ride a bicycle. She taught me how to squat. Basically, she made me come back.
Yeah. So, I mean, you had to completely learn how to, move again.
Everything. I had to learn how to eat again. I had to eat 5 to 6 meals a day to try to get that weight back. All the antibiotics that I was on was just killing my gut lining and things like that. So I had to eat pre and probiotics and just nasty shit. It was not good, not enjoyable. So just going through that for 5 to 6 months, and not being able to do anything. There was a lot of frustration. I pissed a lot of my loved ones off that were taking care of me just because I was so frustrated that I could not do anything for myself, and I was used to being able to do everything and anything.
Yeah, you're in the best shape of your life when it happened, and then all of a sudden that just stops, and you basically go back to zero.
Yeah.
And I mean, what is that? You kind of talked about what it did to you mentally. It just frustrated you, but how did you use that motivation to get back for your daughter? And I mean, you were working in fitness at the time, so you had some knowledge of like what it would take to get back, but what's that place that you have to go to be like, all right, I just got to get back to like one step at a time. Like I got to move again, then I got to do this, then I got to do that. Like just kind of even go deeper into that.
Yeah, so that was it. That was me not focusing on what I was going to look like at the end goal. I didn't have an end goal. I didn't know if I was going to be able to jog, run, or even walk. My goal was to kick as much ass as I could each day and try to be 1% better each day. And then we always reflect on, like, with our clients is like, what is your why? If I didn't have Ella, I would have given up, and I could be living on disability and just, be a couch potato and not really enjoy my life at all.
Yeah.
And not have that fulfillment. So it was knowing that I've done this before. I've started at zero. I've never been this hurt before, but having a strong group of people behind me was probably the most thing that I needed during all of that, because it was very mentally breaking, but going back into it, it was just reflecting on Ella and doing better than what I did yesterday, whether that be curling one more time or, getting one more step or being able to go up the steps quicker, or even being able to wash myself.
Yeah. Yeah. And to go all the way from there, like you said, not seeing the end point to competing in a powerlifting event and deadlifting 550 pounds after breaking your back, basically almost losing your leg, not even knowing if you would walk. Like that takes something that I don't think can really be described in words, but like you said, you never saw that process actually playing out. It was just like,
I shouldn't have lived.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people died from a lot less than what I've gone through. So I'm very fortunate. And I feel like that was another sign to where like I was kept here for a reason. And I'm not gonna just be okay with giving up. So just fucking keep going.
Yeah. And so what does that do as your why of like, now you have this thing of like, I shouldn't even have been here, but I am. So like, what do you want to do with that now?
Well, I think, so when I tell my story, I tell everybody like, don't feel bad for me because everybody has their own story. It's just whether they just decide to share it or not. But I would like to use my story to know that we take a lot of the things that we can do now for granted. It is not the end game. It can be very mentally battling, and you can be so frustrated to where it's easy for you to give up. It's easier for you to give up than to put in the work 100% on anything that you do.
Yeah.
But you're not going to get anywhere if you don't fail and keep trying. And I've done that. I've failed several times during that journey. And that maybe that's the reason why I was able to pull that 555 at the deadlift, or even squat
now
body weight.
Yeah. Yeah, that's crazy. So does that kind of give you the perspective that you take with your clients of like, do you just try and make them understand that whatever your story is, it's not like fully written, or do you where do you go with clients to kind of find that inside of them?
So it's like, I try not to annoy them by trying to dig into their whys. Like as soon as they get here, like, okay, let's go over goals. Why are we talking right now? Why do you want to do this? And then just build a relationship of trust to where they can trust me to have a conversation during our session, and then be comfortable enough to tell me what they're battling with. whether that be daily, weekly, monthly, or, even what they want to do in the future. And then, okay, how can I compare anything that I've been to? What did I do to get to where I needed to be? And then how can I help them get to where they want to be, or even better tomorrow to get towards that? So I try to reflect back on everything that I've done, and if it's not relatable, fine, but I guarantee you that I've had the same mental obstacles as you.
Yeah.
It may not be physical, but we've all been there, and it's just touchy on how people respond or how you go about things, and each person's battling with something different. So
yeah, just using it to relate to somebody else. And like you said, everyone has a story and something that they've done, like something that's happened to them in their lives. I mean, when we were at the coaching seminar that we just recently went to, and there was that other girl who had also been in a motorcycle accident.
Yeah.
And I just sat and like listened to you guys talk and gained so much perspective of like my own life. And like I was going through all this stuff mentally at that time. And it just put things in perspective to realize where I actually am right now and just be like, wow, I'm so lucky to just be right here. And I wasn't being like, I didn't have that grateful mindset of like, this is where I'm at right now. And like, it's amazing. I can do more, but having that perspective to not just like always want to do more, want everything right now. It's like, let me take this one day at a time and just get a little bit better. But like I said, I've never even had an experience like that, and it kind of changed the way that I think about things just talking to you guys.
And she was wheelchair bound, and she was the happiest person that I probably met that weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. So when we dig into the process and getting better every day, most people in general struggle to stay motivated or disciplined in whatever their pursuit is. What is the best way you go about keeping clients motivated or disciplined while you're working with them?
So that's probably the one time where I will have them reflect on the end goal, because I don't care who you are, you're going to have days where you're not motivated at all, but you still have to do the shit. There were several days during that strength training that I knew the weight that needed to be on my back. And I did not want to do it, but I got it done.
Absolutely.
So it's reminding them that they're here for a reason, and kind of reflect back on that first meeting that you have with them. Like, hey, this is why you came here. Giving up or not tackling this as hard as we can is going to be one of the main things that is going to stop you from being able to run around the playground with your daughter, or pick up your baby and put it into your big picked up truck. And, just simple lifestyle shit. And that's even when it comes to non-scale victories. It's like, okay, we're not seeing these things on here, but how is your life? How is your life?
Absolutely.
Okay, you're able to get off of the ground with your kid without hurting anymore. You're able to race them up the steps. Like, that's the best thing, I think.
Absolutely. And it's when I love when people see that result. Like, they come to us for a fat loss result, or like a muscle gain, or some sort of body composition thing, and then they find all these other things that they're able to do that they never even thought were possible. And you're just like, they're like, oh my God, you changed my life. And that's just like, that's where I think the real value in coaching and just in fitness in general is, like, you can literally use it to change your life if you can find that why and keep connecting back to that, because that's, like you said, the thing that keeps you going. Like, it's easy to skip a workout. It's easy to skip a healthy meal and just say like, I'll get to that tomorrow. It's like, you can't see that end result, but it's all these little steps in the process that really, really get you there. Another thing I want to talk to you about was injuries. Obviously, you've come back from several of them. You coach athletes. So what is your, philosophy on training through an injury and getting back from an injury? How do you look at that?
So two phases that I think need to be in sync with each other. It's physical therapy and some sort of resistance training, both which I've done through every injury that I have had. But notice that there's a difference. Now there are physical therapists that do work with resistance training as well, but it's a little scarce. It's hard to find those. But my physical therapist taught me how to do simple movements that are lifestyle, like walking, being able to pick things up comfortably, being able to put on my clothes, how to move and turn. That's fine. Now I need to increase my strength doing those movements so that I can continue to do that without being as beat up, and it will only help with my range of motion as well.
Yeah.
So I think that's the best way to approach it, is continue to go to physical therapy until you're released, or if you have a good physical therapist, they tell you you don't need me anymore, and incorporating resistance training. Now that could even be body weight things. I broke my pelvis a year ago.
The list of injuries just keeps going
Yeah,
on.
so I broke my pelvis a year ago, and my recovery time was, they told me that I was going to be in a walker for 12 weeks, and then from there I would be on a cane and have a bad limp, and then how I would tackle my therapy would be based on how long I would have a limp for before I got back into it. I beat that recovery time in half, so I was out of my walker in 3 weeks. I used a crutch, that way I could still apply pressure as needed on that leg, and then I incorporated body weight movements. So I used a lot of TRX stuff, just body weight squats. That way I could assist my legs as much as I needed with my arms. But basically putting my body into that range of motion that I needed to get back into without, a bar on my back. This was all body weight, and that helped me increase my recovery time. I beat my recovery time in half, and then I was back to deadlifting 10 weeks later.
Damn. Yeah. So I think it's really just, so even if your injuries aren't as serious as life-threatening, limb-threatening, not being able to walk, I think the biggest thing I took there is just find what you can do right now, do that, and then continue to try and progressively load it or progressively move through longer ranges of motion as it starts to feel good.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we usually try to do, but giving people the confidence to understand that you're not broken, you can build this back. We just have to start in the right place. Because I think most of the time it's either people start too far ahead, or they just assume that they're so far behind that they will never be able to get anywhere.
And it's a fear thing too. Some people have never been injured before, and they think it's the end of the world.
Right. Or they don't even want to go back to squatting, holding the TRX.
Yeah.
Like thinking of someone. Obviously you went through everything you did, so it was okay, here we go again. Let me just do the things. But when you think about trying to hand somebody a 3-pound kettlebell and lift this over your head if your shoulder hurts, they're like, what?
Yeah.
But no, this is where you're at right now. Let's just keep progressing you from there. How do you deal with people who have just pain when they're lifting? Right now we're both going through shoulder issues of it's not the end of the world. It's not immobile, but it just kind of hurts when we press. So what do we do there? Is it a similar process or?
Yes, I think it's definitely figuring out where zero is at. So figuring out what the starting level is at and always start back to that.
Is that's the level that there is no pain?
That's the level where there is no pain or very minimal. It's below a 3 out of 10. You feel it working, but it's not, I need a painkiller.
Or I need to stop moving.
Yeah.
Let
me schedule another doctor appointment because that hurt. That's not it. But yeah, getting back to figuring out what zero is. That way you can progress as quickly as you need, but also making sure that it's monitored as well. So for instance, when I came back from my accident, my left leg, I had a hip shift in my squat. DJ worked on my squats by holding a band around my waist and pulling it so that I can apply pressure back onto my left leg and get my body used to driving with that leg again.
Yeah.
So we did that for months. And it could be as simple as that, even without adding weight to the bar. It's just knowing that there's a process to it, understanding that process, and trusting it as long as it's monitored.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, and I think that's really key for people to hear, because I think that stops a lot of people from coming to the gym too, because as soon as they either hurt something and it's like, oh, I can't do anything anymore, so I got to stop coming, and then you get again out of that habit. Yeah.
What are you gonna do at home with that arm?
Yeah, and I mean, people think that it's just gonna magically get better. Like, you have to make yourself better. Like, imagine you just sat in your wheelchair or your hospital bed and you were like, I'm just gonna sit here and hope I get better. Would you have gotten better?
No chance.
No, like you'd probably still be there. Like you said, you'd probably be living on like disability or something. Like, getting people to understand that you need to move and make yourself better. You need to force your body to adapt, but understanding that it needs to adapt from the right place and at the right pace. You'll get there, but it just might take longer than you want to. But if you stop doing everything in general, you're fucked. Yeah. For lack of a better, I can't think of any better way to say it.
You're screwed.
You're just fucked. All right, so I want to shift gears. I know you work with athletes. What is your process for getting started with an athlete, specifically a young one, and then kind of how do you plan to progress them through whatever training cycle or however long you get to work with them?
So I think what's really cool about it is, as a former athlete, we have a little bit more, we're intrigued to work with athletes more, because, we see us in them. Whether, I don't play tennis or anything like that, but I see that he's got that athlete in him, he's got that dog in him, and he wants to get better. Sick. I'm going to study the sport a little bit more. What are their main movements? What are the most common overuse injuries? How can I strengthen those muscles to where that they can still keep playing injury-free? And how do they get stronger and better? Because that's why they're coming to me. They're not coming to me to stay at the same place. They want to get better. So studying the sport, realizing what their movements are, what their most common use of injuries or overuse injuries are. And then I always start them with the 3 compounds: bench, squat, and deadlift. I think those overall, if you can teach them that movements, I think those are one of the 3 hardest movements that you can try to teach somebody who's new. But again, they're athletes, so typically we can fly through that movement pretty quick. From there, then it's moving on to accessory stuff like, okay, if you're a tennis player, I need to make sure that you can rotate well and that you're strong through your rotations. And then what other muscles are we using? Okay, you serve, so we need some lats. We gotta have good lats. But I also wanna make sure that you stay an athlete. I'm not looking to build, a power lifter or anything out of you. It's just how I can make you more powerful and stronger within the movements that you have to do naturally.
Right. So is there do you usually work in certain rep schemes, even for accessory work in that way? Especially like a tennis player who's very one-sided. Do you focus on one side more than the other, or do you just kind of are we just going to strengthen the whole body?
We're going to strengthen the whole body.
Absolutely.
There's no point of me working on the one side that you serve with.
Because you're working that all the time. Yeah.
And whether you hit over or backside, you're going to be using both sides anyways. You have to be very agile. I think tennis was one of the most hardest sports that I've had to coach an athlete in.
Yeah. I mean, I can imagine, because I'm just thinking of all the different things that you have to do. So that's why I think sometimes people try to get way too specific with athletic training and doing very sport specific things in the gym, and even if you don't know that sport. So was that something that you had to kind of play with? It's what can we do that kind of mimics or strengthens what you need, but we're going to let you do tennis, when you're practicing tennis.
Yeah. So your practices and stuff should be very specific. Your training should be standard pretty much across the board, except for, if you are at tennis, we are going to work some rotational movements, but we're going to work on all the normal lifts that I have done before, and any of my other clients or athletes. If you can get stronger in those movements, you're going to be stronger as an athlete. So let's keep it very basic and standard with the training inside the gym, and let your practices and stuff be more specific.
Absolutely, absolutely. And what is the biggest misconception that you see with young athletes who start training? What is the biggest mistake that they make when they start training?
I think the mental thought of they're going to get big and strong quick. I don't think that they realize that the stress that they're under playing their sport and how much they actually have to eat and things like that, because that was one of my main things. Like, you guys, you're serving hundreds of times a day and you play tennis almost every day. I guarantee you're not eating enough. And based on the scale, I can afford to put some pounds on you, fat and muscle. So just eat. And then the other thing is, like, they think that they're going to be doing, because of the influencers and all this social media stuff, they think they're going to be doing complex and these crazy movements. But that's just not the case at all. So they'll even often, like, a couple of them, they'll look at me like, well, we did this last time. Yeah, we're going to keep doing this.
Yeah, we got to keep doing it to get stronger at it. Yeah. So I think there's a misconception with athletes that they're gonna get like you said, too bulky to like play their sport. I used to see this with like basketball players all the time in the gym. Like, they were gonna like mess up their shot if they got too bulky, and it's like, you can train for strength, gain a little bit of muscle, but not like you're not bodybuilding.
Yeah.
Like, they thought like they were just gonna explode, or that they'll be too stiff or something like that. And I think that's a real misconception. Also, I think, athletes think that they're going to get injured in the gym, or parents think that their athlete is going to get injured in the gym when their sport is probably 10 times more dangerous than the gym is. You might get some little tweaks and nags and stuff there, but like, again, these kids are athletes. Like, they move their bodies already. Just because you go in the gym and try to do more than you can because you're working a desk job and you haven't bench pressed in a decade and you hurt your shoulder, that doesn't mean your kid is going to do that. So I think looking at the injury, I think the injury risk actually probably decreases, right? If you strength train from your sport.
For sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So how do you take what you do with athletes and apply that to like the general population? Are there overlaps, different things that you kind of do between like a general population person who comes in looking to get stronger, look better, and an actual athlete?
I would say there's some overlap. They're still going to be doing a lot of similar movements, things like that. Their range of motion, and it's probably going to take a lot longer to work through form and things like that, especially if it's, Gen Pop. Typically they probably have never worked in or with a coach before, so they're kind of starting from zero. So basically I have to teach you how to put a bar on your back. I have to teach you what's good depth for your squat, how do you engage everything for your bench, squat, what's your deadlift look like, can you pick something off the floor, without having that potential of hurting yourself.
Even if you were an athlete back in the day, like you kind of said earlier about, when we went into the gym at first as athletes with the football program, it was like, all right, guys, just go lift some weights. Like,
try to get strong.
Yeah, none of us knew what the hell we were doing. Or they just made you do everything to absolute failure and just go crush yourself. So even if you were an athlete back in the day, doesn't necessarily mean that you have these movement capabilities, and we got to take that time to kind of learn what to do, for sure. And if there was one thing that you could get Gen Pop people to understand when they get started in the gym, what would that be?
Trust the process. That's the main thing. This is not something that's going to happen overnight, and don't focus on the scale. As a coach, I want the scale to move for you too. That's, that'd be great. But if our lifestyle's getting better and things are getting easier for you to do at home, then I think the longevity and your life will feel a lot better with just those results alone.
Yeah, and I think you'll be able to make those scale victories if you put the other habits in place. Like, start where you're at. Like, where am I at right now? Can I get to the gym and, clean up one or two things about my diet?
Yeah.
Like, let's get started there. And I think the benefits of just resistance training and an exercise program in general, outside of any other change in your life, are like the benefits are just insane. Like, you're gonna feel so much different just from that. Like, the benefits for you mentally, physically, emotionally, just from getting in the gym, I think is probably like the biggest thing. And do you think that's the number one thing you would tell people to do for their health? Like, if they could only change one thing about their life, regardless of their goal, what would you tell them to do?
Move more.
Just move.
Just move.
Move more.
Like, that could be as simple as, like, my aunt, she's walking more. She can't make it to the gym. She's got a bunch of excuses still, but she's been walking. And even that alone, it could be just, like, she realizes she's moving more. She feels better about herself because she's increasing her activity. And then she's acknowledging what she can't do, which is also a plus. A lot of people use excuses like, I'm not going to do that because I have this thing. Mm-hmm. No, you can do it. It's just whether you want it bad enough. Are you training like you want your body to change? Are you eating like you want your body to change? Are you sleeping? Do you enjoy your life at work when you get 4 hours of sleep by choice because you stay up all night? Just main thing is just move more.
Yeah, and I think that can literally change your entire life, for sure. What's one thing nutritionally that everybody could do to improve their health? Just one thing that you could change. If you could change something about everyone's nutrition, what would it be?
Eat more protein.
Yeah, I kind of figured you'd say
Eat more protein, and then probably drink more water too. I've seen the benefits because I was a piece of shit with drinking my water for a while. The last couple of years I've hit it really hard, but I noticed a difference from from that.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing with like drinking water is I always think about this because it's like, yeah, water is great for you, but it also will keep you from drinking other shit. Like, stop drinking maybe you'll drink less caffeine. Maybe you'll drink less sugary beverages. Like, if you can just replace water or replace those things with water, obviously that benefits your health. So yeah, I would totally agree. The other thing I would say is, like, try to make as many of your meals as you can. Like, make as many of your own meals as it's humanly possible for you to do, because if you can't control the variables outside of that, then I don't know, like, it's just so hard to make any progress and actually track your progress. But yeah, everyone already knows, if they're listening, that the protein thing.
Yeah.
This is the big one. All right. So what I want to do is I want to do some rapid fire questions, just to see kind of where you're at, and let's get to know Coach Brandon a little bit more. All right. You ready?
Yeah.
All right. Group coaching or one-on-one?
Ooh. See, I think I enjoy one-on-one better because I can build that one-on-one connection. I've actually made friends from training, and I like that because I can actually build that connection with them and stay focused on, their goals and what they're struggling with, as opposed to I love group training and things like that, but we have to work with 15 plus people at times, and it's hard to build that connection. Yeah, they know me, I know them, but I don't get to talk to them. You have shit to do within this hour.
Yeah, you
got to get this shit done. I don't have time to listen, about the show that you're watching or things like that.
Yeah, you don't get that deeper level connection. Like, I mean, we do a great job with our group training of, like, making those connections and having those touch points. But yeah, it definitely is more difficult. Yeah. And Robin will be happy to hear that answer. All right. Motivation or discipline?
Discipline.
Always.
Yeah, discipline, because you're not going to be motivated, but I was disciplined enough to continue with progressing in my journey. Definitely not motivated. It's definitely discipline.
Yeah. And I mean, you've heard us talk multiple times through this entire podcast of like, you said after the powerlifting meet, the motivation wasn't there anymore. But it's like, well, now I got to find that discipline to keep myself going because I know that this is good for me.
Yeah, I do one powerlifting meet and that's it.
I'm done.
I don't have anything else to work forward to, you know?
Yeah, so, and I mean, that motivation wanes, it comes and goes. Like, there's plenty of days where, like, I don't want to get in the gym, you know? It's like, and I work there. It's easy. Like, I love doing it more than anything, but it's like.
I don't know about you. Maybe you can chime in. It's like, I think I might have more days where I'm not motivated than
to actually train.
Yeah, than days where I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go in there and fuck it up today.
Yeah,
I feel like I've had more days like shit. You know, I got a front squat or
yeah. I think I saw something about this once. There's like 10% of the time is like those awesome like fucking workouts where you're just like, I'm gonna crush it. You go in, you do it, feels amazing. Then there's like this other 10% that's like, you really got to drag your ass through it. Like, you got to force yourself to get up and do it. And then the other, like, 80% is just like, I did it. I got my workout done. Yeah. It was fine. I think that's where I'm probably at most of the time.
What is that, 80?
Yeah, that 80% of, like, I'm just in here getting it done. Feels pretty good. But, and like I said, I love, like, that's my favorite time of the day, almost. Like, the only other time is, like, when I come home from work.
Yeah.
Those are my two favorite times of the day. So it's like, and right now it's hard for me because I'm super motivated. Like, my training is going really good and I'm really enjoying it. Yes. So I'm in that 10% right now. So it's hard for me to like think about like what it's like. Yeah. It's like, hopefully that squat just keeps going up. I'll just keep adding weight to the bar. We'll see what happens. All right. Next one. Tracking macros or calories or a quote-unquote named diet, low carb, keto, paleo, fasting, insert name here.
I would say tracking macros and calories.
Why?
Because it's a numbers thing for a lot of people. I think they like to look at the numerical aspect of it. Mm-hmm. But that might be the thing that's, you know, blocking them. They see those numbers and they're like, oh shit, I don't want to do this anymore. But a lot of time is like, if you have a coach who's experienced with this and there's different phases of people that, you know, I want the full blown macros, all that shit. And then just like, give me a caloric budget. It's like, okay, basically I'm going to try to start with everybody. Like, okay, let's try to just meet this amount of calories. Mm-hmm. Let's try to eat this. And then let's break it down after you do, you know, a couple weeks of it. Just
see where you're at.
Yeah, just to see, you know, don't worry about, like, try to stick to good foods, but don't change your life. Just track the shit. Let's see where you're at. Let's make it as comfortable as possible.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the thing I always come back to is, like, how do I give you the most, like, flexibility and autonomy in your diet? And if I give you this diet that has a rule, like, don't eat carbs or only eat, you know, natural foods, don't ever eat anything that's not, or like fast for this many hours a day, is that actually sustainable for you?
Right.
But if we track macros and calories, we don't have to do it forever if you can get good enough at it, find a consistent diet, and then give yourself some flexibility. You give yourself some food choice, you allow yourself some room to enjoy things that you want. So, I mean, that's why I really think that's probably the way to go. I think it kind of gets, where tracking macros and calories goes wrong is kind of from like the bodybuilding and like if it fits your macros culture of like either people just eating shit and fitting it into their macros, or you have to have this like rigid meal plan of chicken, rice, and broccoli for every single meal of the day. And it's like, no, that's actually not what we're trying to do here. We're trying to get you away from that. At least for most of you, like I
still want you to enjoy the things that you want.
Yeah.
You know? But it's just, you don't need those all day.
Yeah.
All the time.
I don't know how many like 40-year-old ladies that have come to me that are like moms, and they were like, I was working with this bodybuilding coach and he had me eating like 6 meals a day. And I'm like, so I don't want to track anything. And I'm just like, what is like, that's not what I'm trying to do here. We're trying to give you that autonomy.
Are you trying to bodybuild?
Yeah, I think that's really how you get there, and understanding how much is in food, how to portion it. I think that's the way to go. All right, this is going to be a fun one. I want to see your reaction. Conventional or sumo?
Oh, conventional. Conventional.
Is sumo deadlifting? Let me put you on the spot.
No.
No.
I think either I have respect for it because you are pulling weight still.
Mm-hmm.
It hurts me. All I used to do was sumo,
Mm-hmm.
but now I'm conventional. I'm way stronger in my lifts. But I respect it and everything, but I will never coach somebody to sumo, or I'll try to steer away from coaching into sumo. There's people that absolutely need to do sumo, but
Yeah.
I saw you sumo once, and almost threw
Once.
up.
One
Just
time.
once, almost threw up. But
I'm terrible at it too. I got these little stubby arms, so I have to get like way down low, and it's really hard for me to get it off the floor. I think sumo is a good place to start for a lot of people because it doesn't put as much stress on your lower back, and you can use your legs a little bit
and
more.
that might be why I'm such a good conventional now. Because that's how I started sumo,
Yeah.
and it's a good to learn the hinging movement kind of it.
Yeah, and I think it's more natural. And yeah, I try not to hate on the people that do it because you pull more weight than
It's
me.
heavy shit.
Yeah, regardless, you're pulling heavy shit off the floor. If you're sumoing a significant amount of weight, we're not going to call you a cheater. Respect, absolutely. All right, high bar or low bar squat?
Okay. Now, you've been with me on this, so all I did was high bar. So
That's why I wanted to ask you this question.
I went back and forth. I'm on my third transition. Low bar for a while. Hurt myself. I failed to lift. Hurt myself. Moved to high bar. Felt good. I was getting stronger in it. Now I'm working back to low bar, and I feel way better. I haven't felt my glutes like that in a while. So now I know shit's firing the way it needs to be. I'm getting out of my knees.
Yeah, did you think you just tapped out on the high bar squat because it's so much more quad dominant?
Well, you know what pissed me off is I don't think I thought of it like that. I thought of it as I squatted with you peak week before the powerlifting meet, and I squatted new PR. I went to the meet with just under that weight that I squatted with you, and I did not hit it.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, if I went back to, I know what low bar feels like. If I were to squat that weight and I was comfortable low barring, I would have gotten that.
Yeah.
And even when I compare it to what I'm doing now with the weight at low bar, it's like I would have got that.
Yeah.
If I would have low barred, I would have had a lot more power with that.
Yeah. So I think, a lot of this depends on your body type and what you feel most comfortable doing. I've always been a low bar squatter because, again, I'm this short, stubby kind of person, and my ass was always just bigger. I could always just squat into my legs, and I naturally literally, it's impossible for me to work my quads with any kind of squatting movement. I do everything I can. I elevate my heels. I still feel my glutes, regardless. So yeah, I'm obviously a low bar person, and I think I tend to get a lot of people with better results with a low bar squat. I think because when you put it on your neck, I think people put it just too high in general, and they end up falling forward because they just can't hold it up. So if you get it back a little bit, I think it might be a little bit more comfortable. But again, it really just depends on your body.
That and a lot of people's shoulders are fucked. To where
Yeah,
they can't even
it's hard to get to that
deep
point.
in there.
Yeah. So I actually work one of the things I work with squats with general population people, back squats in general, is thoracic spine and shoulder mobility when we do squats. That's the one time I will throw in mobility, a decent amount of mobility, because I'm if you can actually just get back here, it's going to help you a ton. All right, high volume or high load training?
For myself, just overall.
You could take it any way you want to go. What's better? What do you like better?
I think based on the person, for sure, It depends. I for myself, I would like more load, higher load, because I like to get strong. For my athletes, I'll kind of do like a hybrid kind of thing. We'll do, around 8. I still think, you can get pretty heavy with that to an extent, but you're not going to get to where you want to be if you were to be a power lifter and trying to do 8s or things like that. Now, if it were general pop, and let's say for one of my clients right now, if she really wants to get a stronger squat and a bench, but she still wants to lose weight, okay, let's do these movements at the beginning of our sessions. We're going to go heavier load, lower reps, and then after that, let's kick your ass.
Yeah. Do some high volume, crush it kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think it really goes to, what's your goal? Like, is your goal to get stronger? Okay, cool. If your goal is to get bigger, we can do both with high volume or high load training. Granted, like if the intensity is there, but to do squats to close to failure with heavy loads sucks.
Yeah.
To do deadlifts like that sucks. It's going to take a lot of recovery. So you got to kind of play with it in there as to what works best for you, and then figuring out what muscle group actually works best for you. Like, my legs do way better with heavy training, and I hate doing volume legs. So I'd rather just lift heavy. But upper body, I don't do as well lifting heavy because my shoulders get fucked up. So it's like I just adjust based on that too. So I mean, it really comes down to, what you want to do and what works best for you. I just like to hear people's opinions on it. All right, I think I know this answer, but what's your best lift? What's the best you've ever lifted? It was the 555, right? Yeah. And is that your best lift in general? Like, out of any exercise in the gym, you're better at deadlift than anything else?
Yeah.
Fucking nuts.
Yep.
Bet you've broken your back, twice?
3 times.
3 times?
So I fractured 6 vertebrae in 11th grade. My T 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, and 11. And then my motorcycle accident, I had 2 lumbar, and then I broke my pelvis last year.
Damn. Yeah. So you can still deadlift. Don't be afraid of them. I promise you.
Yeah.
This guy's better at deadlifts than me, and he's broken his back 3 times. I've barely ever had an injury. Do you think that's why you're good at deadlifts? Because you had to do so much PT on your back that you're...
I've always thought about that. I feel like because I've had to learn how to use my back a lot and knowing how it works, knowing what I needed to do to get back to even being able to sit upright or slouching.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think my recovery through those has definitely helped me.
Nice.
Helped me with that lift for sure.
What's your worst lift or your least favorite exercise?
Least favorite, my worst lift is my bench, especially now. But that's something that I've always struggled with. I feel like everything else has progressed.
Yeah.
Except for that, and I finally hit 3 plates. 2 weeks before our powerlifting meet, and I've been lifting since 9th grade. So 315 on the bench, I finally hit it. Okay.
So all you guys that were benching 315 in high school, calm down.
Yeah. It's taken me a while to do that. But yeah, I would say and probably because it's my weakest, it's probably my least favorite.
Yeah, just look at it. Everything just hurts when you do it. No, I'm with you there. What's your favorite healthy meal? Macro friendly.
I don't know if you'll yell at me for this, but I like a nice steak.
I'm not gonna yell at you for that.
I love asparagus, and then some it's there's a seasoned rice, but it's got some shit in it. She usually does onions and stuff in with the rice.
Nice.
But I like me a nice steak, some asparagus, and then some rice on the side. It's good.
Yeah, and I am not against steak or red meat in general. I do lean toward leaner meats in general because it's just easier overall to control calories and eat more volume. Yeah. I like to eat a lot of food. So I would rather eat more chicken than less steak.
Yeah.
Me personally. And I think it fits into people's diets better. But if you want to enjoy like a freaking ribeye every now and then, hell yeah, go for it. I'd rather you eat that than like the whole pizza or even like a burger on the weekend or something like that. I'd rather you eat the steak. So that's definitely.
I mean, my meal preps right now are just chicken, rice, and broccoli. So
I mean, easy.
If I had a choice and if I had the money to, the red meat.
There you go. All right, what is one food you know you should be eating, but you just can't do it? You just don't like it. What's one?
Ooh, that's a good one. I don't know, man. There's
nothing you don't like. Like you're just like, I hate that.
I mean, I hate like muscle. Mussels.
Like actual
like
muscles.
That's
like it.
I like a lot of shit, honestly.
Damn.
I can't even think of anything that comes with that I fucking hate.
I'll give you mine.
What
olives.
Is it? Olive?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't like olives. I do not like olives.
And they're a great source of like healthy fats.
Mushrooms, I don't really care for. So if it's like you have a steak smothered in onions and mushrooms, I will get it if you order it for me. But I'm gonna just
scoop those off.
Tuck the mushrooms underneath the steak.
All right, fair enough. All right, what's your favorite treat meal?
Favorite treat? I mean, I really like ice cream. I like ice cream, and I'm a big fan of chips and dip.
Yeah, I feel you there.
Some chips and French onion dip. I'm a big fan of that. I mean, I'll fuck up some queso too, dude.
Ooh,
honestly,
you ain't kidding, dude. Queso's been like the downfall of my diet so many times I can't even explain it.
I mean, queso. Yeah, I mean, I'm a chip and dip kind of guy, but I love ice cream too.
Hell yeah,
I can absolutely go ham on that.
All right. What's your best nutrition habit?
Best nutrition habit would, I mean, it could
what's
be
the one thing you always, no matter what, you're going to hit it?
My water. Honestly, it could be as simple as that because there's days where I don't hit my protein, and I mean,
we got to make this guy finish his meals.
Yeah,
I
mean, you've been there. You better finish your like, he's made me sit at the table while everybody's done, and I have to finish my meal in front of him. I don't know. It's just that's what I couldn't give you an answer on to why I can't eat as much as a big dog.
I mean, maybe that's why you're able to stay so lean. What's your worst nutrition habit? Not being able to finish your meals.
Probably that. And I don't, I've always had a thing to where like, I love working, especially the job that I have now. I'm very passionate about, so I don't think about eating. I don't have an appetite. So I feel like the worst thing is like, I need to make myself eat.
Yeah, especially when you want to be as big
and I
and
know
as strong as possible.
It pops in my head multiple times.
But you just got other stuff. Yeah. See, that's like the complete opposite of me. I never stop thinking about food.
Really?
And I can always eat. Like, always. Like, hey, you hungry? I could be. Like,
I want that from you.
You want to, like, meet halfway?
Yeah.
We could meet halfway. All right. Do you have any good nutrition hacks?
Good nutrition hacks. I love telling people to start their day off with 8 to 16 ounces of water, like as soon as you wake up. Because I mean, I've fallen into the trap of like waking up and it's a coffee or energy drink or something right
Straight
away.
to
But
that,
it's like, if it took me a while to think about this. Like, that's the first thing that's going in my body. That's the first thing that my organs are getting. Like, that's not good.
Yeah, like everything has to do something. We're not just like,
That's helped me get my water in too. Especially, imagine if like we can get all of our clients to do that. First thing in the morning, you drink 16 ounces.
Yeah.
I have a client, you know who you are. I have a client who won't drink that up until they come to the gym in the evening. I'm like, what are we doing?
Yeah. No, that would be a good one.
I would say that's a good one. And then...
it also might help you be less hungry. Because sometimes when you're hungry, you're just dehydrated. I noticed that. If I actually just drink some water, I feel better.
And I'm like, there's... Like, they taught us a few things that, like, if you tell somebody to drink, a glass of water before their meal, they're going to get fuller quicker and they're not going to finish their meal. So it could be as simple as that.
Yeah. Nice.
I think that's the quickest and easiest hack.
I like that one. All right, what's the best music to listen to while you're lifting?
Oh, rap, dude. Rap.
Always.
Yes, hardcore,
Always.
just hood rat shit. Just stuff that pisses your parents off if they even hear the music. You know,
Just gives you that stank face.
Turn that shit off. Nope, it's in my ear blasting.
Love it. All right, do you have a favorite book?
Extreme Ownership. Yeah, by Jocko.
Good one. Favorite podcast besides this one?
Yeah, besides, let's see. It'd probably be Starting Strength.
Yeah.
Yeah, just cause they're so comic.
Oh my god. The entertainment value is
that's all it is. Like all their shit, I'm like, what the fuck are they talking about? That's not gonna work for anybody. But like the fact that they go in so in depth about certain subjects, and it's comical. They'll talk shit on each other, talk shit on other people. It sounds bad, but
take it for the entertainment.
It's very funny. It's more of a comedy than anything.
I would say if you know about lifting and you understand lifting, that makes it more fun because you get why it's like so ridiculous.
Yeah.
But like I could see some people listening to that and going, I should do that.
Yeah, I need to start. Yeah.
Yeah, like whoa, slow down.
No.
All right, last one. Winning or fun?
Winning is more fun than fun is fun.
Ed Milet.
That's it.
And that's, I think, the way we're just going to wrap it up. I wanted to leave it with that. Thank you so much for doing this, opening up, telling your story. I think it can help so many people gain that perspective and understanding of like where they're at right now and how they can get to where they want to go, just taking it one day at a time. And like this is going to sound bad, but like your problems are not that big. You know, somebody out there is going through something else than you or something more than you. People have overcome so much. You can overcome whatever it is you're going through. Is there anything else you want to say to anybody, or where can people find you? Where can they follow you? All that stuff.
You can find me on Facebook, Brandon Person. You can find me on Instagram at Coach Brandon Person, and or you can come see me at the gym at Erie Fitness Academy.
Heck yeah, come see us both.
Yeah.
All right, awesome. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much for listening to the Lifting Cues podcast. That was the first episode with a guest. I loved it. I really enjoyed doing it. I have a ton of fun with Brandon. His story is just incredible. I hope it inspires you. I hope it motivates you, even though, motivates you to discipline, as we kind of talked about. If you enjoyed the episode, please remember to like, rate, subscribe, leave a review, message me on Instagram at CoachQ_fitness. Let me know what you liked, what you didn't like. Also Coach Q on Facebook. I'll be there as well. You can message me. Let me know how you like the podcast. Share it with your friends. I really hope that you guys enjoyed this, and I hope to do many, many more of these with Coach Brandon and any other coaches that I can get on here to bring you guys great value and great perspective. But until next week, lifters, I'll see you then.